the WNBA, and I've been all over this because, well, frankly, it's the lead story of the summer in terms of popularity. People love talking about Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and the WNBA. So let's do it. Safe to say this is obvious. Not having Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese on Team USA on the United States Olympic women's basketball team impacted the viewership of the Olympics, of the gold medal game, in particular drawing the least crowd, the least viewership since 2008. This goes back to something I'm incredibly annoyed with. I'm incredibly annoyed that women's basketball blew this monumental opportunity. Now you say, Dan, what does it matter to you? Well, it matters to me because, as I've told you many times, I have a family full of women athletes. Stepdaughter, stud player at Harvard. Wife, legend in the world of softball, both as a player and as a coach. And I pay attention. And I want opportunities for young women. For about probably 20 of the 24 years that I ran a basketball camp, I had girls in the morning and boys in the afternoon. And I really, really enjoyed it. And I love seeing young women go from like our camp as little kids to become high school players and in a few cases college players. I loved it. That's the stuff that I enjoyed as a coach. And to see the opportunity that the WNBA had to bring Caitlin Clark and this tsunami of publicity, this tsunami of play, really, interesting play, and then jack it around, well, it was disappointing to me, but it also resonated across the world. You cannot tell me that if Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese were on that Olympic women's basketball team, they would not have had the highest ratings since whenever. But instead, lowest since 2008. And it's inexcusable. It's inexplicable. Jealousy, envy, ego, pettiness. As Michael Thompson so adroitly pointed out, Jeep. And we saw it. And a commissioner that wasn't smart enough to see this tsunami coming and prepare for it and expand it. Instead, she got like everybody else, Cheryl Reeve and everybody, she got all closed-minded, got all tight, we got to protect our OGs, our old lesbians, our old guard. No. Out with the old, in with the new. But they weren't smart enough to do that. So let's review. The U.S. team won the gold medal, which is the goal. Hey, look, make no mistake. We're talking about ancillary stuff. If they had not won the gold, there would have been an incredible outpouring. Cheryl Reeve had one job to do, and I get it. She had one job to do as the coach, win the gold medal. Fine. But you know what? As a coach, you have to be flexible. While you won the gold medal, you have to be flexible enough to understand the greater good. And her stupidity of it's more than one woman showed the closed-mindedness, the Jeep of the Olympic women's basketball program. Not only her, but the program. If you're comfortable enough to talk about where that hashtag that more than one woman, then you are a closed-minded fool. Stuck in the past, stuck in your mediocrity. Hell, you can go beat the world with 3 high school kids. Who you crapping? What are you talking about? Add a shepherd, a dog, me, and Dylan, and you can go whoop some ass in women's Olympic basketball. But you're trying to grow it, and you are stupid. All right, the team won the gold medal and successfully did not draw any of the new women's basketball fans to their television screens. Pay attention to us, Women's Scream. Fund us, Women's Scream. Sponsor us, Women's Scream. TV deals for us, Women's Scream. And guess what? It all fell flat. Why? Jealousy, envy, ego, and what's the P? I forget.
Pettiness.
Pettiness, thank you. Jeez. Don't get old, Dylan. Don't get old, Nick. Don't get old, other Nick. The men's basketball gold medal in 2024 averaged 20 million viewers, just under. They're saying over, but I think it ended up being under, just under. But they may know more than me in this article on OutKick. They usually do. I thought I saw like 19.8, something like that. It may have gone different. Okay. More than double the 9.3 of 2021. Let me say that again, more than double. Why 2021? Why not 4 years pandemic? That's why you see 2021. In fact, the 2024 women's gold medal was the lowest rated final match since 2008. See, what women don't like, what men don't like, although we participate in it, is jealousy, envy, ego, and pettiness. We don't like it. We participate. Oh, do we participate? Everybody's got all those traits, right? You're a special man or woman if you don't, but we don't like to see it. And that's the way it should be. At a time when women's basketball is supposedly exploding in popularity, how is Team USA drawing the same audience as 2021? A smaller audience than 2016, 8.1 million, and a much smaller audience than 2012. 10.2 million. I'll tell you why. Two reasons. One, and this is true, and this is what the Olympic Committee worried about, Caitlin Clark has been the umbrella. She has overshadowed what has been going on with women's basketball. She has, in many ways, become bigger than the sport. She's like hovering over it. And that's what the Olympic Committee and that clown coach and that clown Dawn Staley both didn't want to see happen. Okay, I get it. Fine. But what happens is, and this has been the saying of Lynn Dunn, the Fever general manager, and many in the WNBA media, rising tide lifts all ships. They didn't understand that Caitlin Clark was going to make not only their team better, their viewership better, but their game better. Young women would watch her and go to the playground, go to their front door, go to their street, go to their alley, go to their farm, go to wherever it is they play basketball, and tried to play like Caitlin Clark. We all did it. At least everybody I know did it. You go to a high school basketball game, and I would watch a guy named Rich Valavicious, who eventually played on Indiana's 1976 national championship undefeated team. And I couldn't wait to go home. And I wanted to go shoot baskets. And I wanted to be like Rich Valavicious. Or I'd go to a Chicago Bulls game and watch the first Michael Jordan of the Bulls, Bob Love, drop 23, and I wanted to go home. And I wanted to drop 23, and I wanted to shoot around. And it's what you do when you see somebody that you idolize. That's what women across the world would have done had they gotten a glimpse of Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark mania would have spread, but they weren't smart enough to do it. And now, I don't know how this is going to go. I assume it's going to go fine, at least here in Indianapolis. But think about this. What's starting up? The NFL. What's the biggest sport all across America, and nothing is really second? The NFL. First Colts game is September 8th. Last Fever game is September 13th. I don't know. You tell me. Are we still going to have the same interest? Did the interest go away? It comes back here. I think tonight the WNBA comes back. Tomorrow night it comes back in Indy. Are we still going to have the same interest? I don't know. But boy, oh boy, we wouldn't be asking these questions had Ms. Engelbert, Ms. Reeves, Ms. Staley, and the rest of the jealous, ridiculous OG clowns been smart enough to understand what they had before it even got to the league. That's right. Caitlin Clark was a phenomenon for a year and a half. And not just a little bit of a phenomenon, a major phenomenon, major networks, worldwide, international. And the only people that didn't understand it, the only people that fought it, Dawn Staley, moron. Reeve, Cheryl, coach, moron. Engelbert, not ready, moron. Now we'll see. But we got to hear them now. Now our game is growing. Despite you, Dawn Staley, despite you, Engelbert, despite you, Cheryl Reeve, and your stupid ass hashtag more than one woman. Bah! Is what I say to you. Hey, Kudos, ESPN. You got something right. I'm not going to say what the Flying Knicks and Knicks put in there. You got something right for once in your effing lives is what Nick and Nick put in there. What other show do you get that? What other show do you get where the host is a not lying. I was going to say lying. How about that? Yelling, screaming maniac. And my boys, Nick and Nick, are worse than me. They're worse than me because here's what the copy says right here. Kudos to ESPN for once in their effing lives. Now that's strong. Damn it. For getting at least one thing right. They ranked Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark, ahead of Chicago Sky, Angel Reese in their midseason rankings of the best players in the WNBA. And now, as far as whether Clark is rated high enough, well, that's up for debate. But hold on here a second. See, I told you this when Dawn Staley went and backtracked on Caitlin Clark not being in the Olympics. See, the OGs lost their cover. Caitlin Clark has played so well, and there's so many examples of how bad Angel Reese really is that they lost their cover. They would have lost credibility. The OG far-left lesbian media of the WNBA can no longer provide cover for Dawn Staley talking about Caitlin Clark being good enough, or Cheryl Reeves' stupidity, or ESPN rating Angel Reese higher than Caitlin Clark. And there is no comparison, and anybody that thinks there is an idiot. But that's fine. ESPN doesn't service, as their motto says, sports viewers anytime, anywhere. They service their DEI agenda. Only when the DEI agenda is too ridiculous do they backtrack on it, and this is what you're seeing. The DEI agenda of ESPN putting Angel Reese ahead of Caitlin Clark in terms of Rookie of the Year, Best Player, all that happy horse bleep, got so ridiculous that even ESPN had to be honest. See, ESPN didn't start this way. I know the guys that were involved. The late Barry Sachs, one of the first and foremost. And these dudes cared about giving you more sports with an angle that was true, honest, and interesting. Well, of course, that changed. Now ESPN wants to give you anything that is DEI related as being special. They become a social media outlet. They become a social justice outlet. But when the cover goes away, when it's so ridiculous, you can't even stand by it as ranking Angel Reese ahead of Caitlin Clark. You got to change it. That's the backstory here. It's not like somebody at ESPN had this great epiphany. They looked around and realized, yeah, we can't do that. Not even our liberal-ass lesbian media will cover for us on this one. While Reese piles up the rebounds, she's very inefficient offensively, who struggles to score despite many opportunities close to the basket. Clark, on the other hand, has the highest average distance away from the basket on her shot attempts and still shoots a better overall percentage than Reese. Reese is like that big fat eighth grader that plays around the rim. I'll give her credit for being, I guess, bigger than everybody. I don't know if she is or not, but she certainly plays at 40.5% from the field for Clark, 40.2% for Reese. Clark leads all rookies in scoring, 13th overall, leads the league in assists, and has dealt well with the enormous pressure they wrote. Really? Okay. Still feels as though they're underselling Clark a little bit, but it's a step in the right direction where ESPN has openly acknowledged the obvious about her. Well, it's like anything else. As long as you know you're not going to get ripped for it by your own peeps, you're good. Well, guess what? They were going to get ripped for it by their own peeps because all you got to do is watch a game. Now, Angel Reese, nice player, and she's going to get better and better. Caitlin Clark, great player. No, I'm telling it right now. She's a great player. You go watch her in person, all eyes on her. That's a great player. And she delivers. That's a great player. Say whatever you'd like, however you'd like to say it, in whatever tone you'd like to say it. But all of this is complete crap. All of this is complete crap because it's not even a conversation. But because of DEI, because you got a lot of brothers and sisters at ESPN that are putting a lot of pressure on people, which I don't understand. Like, let me tell you something. If I were at ESPN as a white dude, And, a couple of people, whether they were women, whether they're African-American, whether they're Hispanic, were like, hey, man, I'd be telling you, go screw yourself. I don't get it, but I don't get the world that we live in. I'm just glad the world that we live in involves two Nicks, a Dylan, Gary, Aaron, Brooke, and a few others. Chuck. That's what I like. Stephen A. Smith. Wait, again? ESPN getting it right? Stephen A. Smith making political sense. Let me say that again. Stephen A. Smith, a.k.a. Sass, making political sense. Interesting. He's calling out Heels Up. You guys know who Heels Up is. Vice President Kamala Harris. Kamala. I don't even know. I guess now it's racist to call her the wrong name. You know how many times I've been called Dakich or Dakich or Dakich or Cockich or Jockich? You know how many times? It's never racist. It's just whatever. Anyway, he's calling out Heels Up because of her refusal and her ducking of the media. I think it's up to 24 or 25 days now that old Heels Up spread him, popped out Joe Biden out of the race, jumped up and got in the race, still hasn't had a news conference. All she's done is the blueprint to the presidency, truthfully. What's the blueprint to a Democratic president? Well, you learn from Joe Biden. Have a rally, yay! But don't take any serious questions on policy. Don't take any serious questions on what you think, what you're going to do, how you're going to govern. No, don't do that. Sit in the basement, Joe Biden style. Kick your heels up. Let Willie Brown come over once in a while. Then bring in the husband. See what's going on around here. I digress. It's kind of gross. Anyway, here's what Sass had to say.
Let me show y'all this poll to juxtapose what was transpiring in June. National poll, August 12th, has Harris up 48% to 47% for Trump. That's as of today. Okay? That's what the national poll average is showing. Less than 2 months ago, June 28th, Trump had a 5-point lead. Okay? So let's understand something. Let's understand this right now. First to say, that doesn't mean shit to me. It means nothing to me. You running for the presidency of the United States of America. What you hiding for? United States. Not one single press conference. Not one single one-on-one sit-down interview where somebody gets to question you about the questions that we ask. That's
all right. There you go. Okay. I don't understand in the world that we live in that, you know what? You're running for president. What's your ideas? I mean, you can yell, scream, do whatever you like, but you're running for president. What are your ideas? That's it. What are your ideas? That's all I want to know. What are your ideas? Nobody wants to know anything more than that. I'm looking around. I'm like, what are your ideas? That's it. How are you going to help inflation? How are you going to deal with the border? Why haven't you done that for 3.5 years? Wait a second. That's what it came down to. What are you going to do at the border? Why did it come down to that? Because the border's a mess. You're the czar. You've been there 3.5 years with the president, and you've done nothing about the border. Nothing. In fact, they tell us the border is great. In fact, they tell us border is done. Well, then why not brag about being the czar? If the border's so great, brag about being the czar. If you want no tax on tips, how about this? How about very simply change the law? You had a chance. Your signature, Kamala Harris, said we are still taxing tips. Your signature, your vote. But if you want to do all this, do it. I mean, you've been in office 3.5 years. And the other day, inflation was blamed on Donald Trump. Day before that, the border was blamed on Donald Trump. I mean, honest to God, I've seen where gas prices, when they go down, Biden et al. Take credit for them. When they go up, Biden et al. Give it to Trump. I mean, Trump had one term. You've had one term. Have you done nothing? And that's the bottom line. The bottom line is this. The bottom line is you have been in office for 3.5 years. What have you done? And if, when you get to be the president, you are going to do all these things, then why not do them now, specifically the tip thing, which apparently can be done in a second, specifically the border deal, which could be done in a second. But the reality is 90 plus, as people have come on here and told me, 90 plus of Donald Trump's border policies were gotten rid of day one. And depending on who you want to believe, the reason is you bring all these illegals in, you sign them up, you give them driver's license, and they go vote for you. 4 million of them. Now, let's just be honest here. If everything is Donald Trump's fault, okay, what have you done? Let's take fault away. What have you done? In an entire term, what have you done? I mean, it's not like we're in day 100. You know how they put out day 100 all the time? Day 100, day 100. All right. Day 100, it's over. A long time ago. That's like 3.5 months out of that's 10%. What have you done? It's really that simple. People can jump up and down, stand on their heads, crap snowballs about Kamala Harris, her time, her joy, her whatever. What have you done? But you know what? The truth of the matter is most people don't think like you and me. They don't. Most people do not think like you and me. Most people think like, she seems so happy. She cackles. I want to smile. I told you this. This is dangerous. Jimmy Carter, how you doing? Won the presidency. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it, please. Man, what have you done? What have you done? What are you going to do? And there you go. Simple question. I mean, you're the president. What are your platforms? All right, I'll move it along. I'll move it along to a guy who actually had a platform. No, he did. You can say whatever you want about Colin Kaepernick, but he had a platform. He saw something, police brutality, and in his mind, he did something. He took a knee, cost him his career. Like, I'm no Kaepernick fan. Actually, I kind of wanted to be a Kaepernick fan. I did. I wanted to be a Kaepernick fan. I like people that stand up. And this goes back to, I think it was 1976. I think I was an 8th grader. I could have been a 7th grader when my father was fired as principal at Calumet High School. He was fired because years earlier he had punched the superintendent in a bar. He wasn't the superintendent then. He became the superintendent. And on his first day on the job, he demoted my dad, I guess didn't fire him, from principal of the main high school to typing teacher at one of the junior highs feeding into the high school. Humiliating, you would think, for my father. Not really. The entire school marched. The entire school. Now, this is a melting pot school. Black, white, Hispanic, you name it. They all marched down Ridge Road, a very busy road, blocked the road. National news covered it. I've always liked a good protest. My father got out a megaphone, asked everybody to go back to school. It's not about them. Don't, blah, 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 blah. It's great. It's fantastic. So I've always liked a good protest. Always have, always will. My father lived a great life that way. So I liked Kaepernick. My problem with Kaepernick is when I watched his documentary, I'm like, there's nothing really here. Internally him. This isn't some deep-rooted, deep-thinking guy. So I got no problem with Kaepernick. I just was disappointed more than anything else. But now Jim Harbaugh wants to help Colin Kaepernick get back in the NFL, but not as a quarterback. There are reports that Harbaugh has offered Kaepernick an off-the-field role with the Chargers as a member of the coaching staff. Now, the possibility was floated earlier this year. If that was ever the path he was to take, I think that would be tremendous. He'd be a tremendous coach if that's the path he chose, said Jim Harbaugh. Now, you got to remember, Jim Harbaugh coached him. Jim Harbaugh elevated him. And guess what? They went to the Super Bowl. But if Jim Harbaugh isn't going to bring Kaepernick back, then who the hell is going to bring Kaepernick back? As of right now, Kaepernick appears to be holding out hope. A team offers him a contract to play, and Harbaugh hasn't heard a final decision. Yeah, we talked a little bit about it. He considered it. He was out of the country. He said he was going to get back to me. We haven't reconnected since then. That was early in the year, the former Michigan coach told USA Today when talking about if there was movement on the deal. See, if you want to be a coach and you get an opportunity to get into the NFL, you jump at it. You do. But here's the deal, and you got to understand this. Right now, Kaepernick is this mythical figure. He's this mythical martyr that people have as Kaepernick. If he goes and becomes some front office guy, some assistant to the assistant of the assistant, what is he? You know what he is? He's the assistant of the assistant of the assistant. And no longer is it interesting when he says or does anything. What's Nike going to do? Give a big contract to the assistant of the assistant of the assistant in the front office? Basically, George Costanza with the Yankees is what we're looking at here. Of course not. There are two ways of this. See, Cap likes being Cap. It's what I always said about my head coach, Bobby Knight. He liked being Coach Knight. Didn't like to coach later in his career. Didn't like coaching, but liked being Bobby Knight. And that was big. Here's a little recap of what we went over. Here's Kaepernick's deal. And this is where there's a problem. It's not the kneeling. He refused to stand for the anthem. All right, he did it with a military guy. Okay. But then he wears socks depicting cops as pigs. We talked about this yesterday. Basically, pigs is the N-word to cops. He praised Cuban dictator who's killed many, many thousands and thousands of people, Fidel Castro. He's compared police to slave catchers. He's claimed cops get paid leave for murdering people. And he compared the NFL Combine to a slave auction. Now, he apparently wants to be one of the masters. If he goes into the front office, that's how it's going to be viewed. I mean, if you're going to call it slavery, if you're going to put any type of slavery at the NFL and you are not one of the players, then what are you? So I don't see it happening unless, of course, he truly wants to coach, unless he wants to move on from being Kaepernick. Cap. If he does, wonderful. Hope he is a good coach. If he doesn't, good luck to him. Who the hell knows where he's going to end up or what's going to end up happening? But it is interesting. It really is. With the season less than a month, this is fascinating. I don't know how you do this. With the season less than a month away, Kansas City Chiefs star wide receiver Rashee Rice will likely avoid suspension for the 2024 season in light of the NFL having yet to speak to or meet with Rice about his 8 pending felony charges from his street racing incident this offseason. This has been reported by NBC. Now, I want you to think about this. Guy takes something, whether it is by mistake, to have a baby, whether it's nefarious, gets suspended half a season for taking something, putting in their body an illegal performance enhancer. Now, are guys doing it to have a kid? I have no idea. Are guys doing it mistakenly? I have no idea, but it ain't 8 felonies. It's not 8 felony charges. It's not people getting hurt. And yet you haven't talked to them. I have a hard time believing. I saw this story, and I thought to myself, hold on here. And the other reason I thought, hold on here, is this real? Is because there's actual video. There's actual video of Rice driving like an idiot, crashing into people, then arrogantly, with a buddy of his, just walking away like nothing happened. I'll be shocked. And look, I agree with the story. We've heard nothing. I don't know if the story is true. They've done nothing. I don't know if that's true, but if they're going to report it, I probably don't believe it. I got to believe some lawyer has been talking to Roger Goodell's lawyer about something relative to 8 felonies. I mean, don't you? Wouldn't you? See, it seems like, and I think I'm wrong here, But it seems like, ever since the Ray Rice thing, it feels like the NFL has been pretty serious about their code of player conduct. It feels like the NFL has said, you know what? Act right or we're going to suspend you. I don't know, but I got to tell you, if I'm one of the victims and that clown lines up on opening day and plays football, man, I got to be pissed. I got to be really pissed. Now, does it matter? No. It's David versus Goliath times 10. One individual being mad at the NFL in this day and age, in this landscape. But damn, I have a hard time. This is something we are going to watch because I can't believe this to be true. Fascinating stuff here. Don't know what it means. Despite getting blowback, and he did, for using an anti-gay slur over the weekend, the support for Jarren Duran has been incredible. Duran's jersey at the time of publishing is now the top-selling jersey on the online MLB shop, similar to situations like the jersey sales of Philadelphia Flyers Ivan Provorov, which skyrocketed after he refused to wear Pride-themed merchandise during warm-ups, citing his religion. And, of course, Harrison Butker and his jersey going insane following his speech at Benedict College. I don't think, personally, that this is anti-gay. I think this is anti-PC culture. Anti-stop forcing your wokeness on us. Politically correct has been a derogatory term. Nobody got injured by the gay slur. Everybody can say they did. Well, it hurts our – no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. And I would argue more people in the gay community call each other that than anywhere. Well, they're allowed to. Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know if I buy that. I would argue more people at Yahoo who wrote a scathing article, or USA Today wrote a scathing article about Duran, or whatever the hell his name is. I would argue that word is used more in those hallways than anywhere else. I don't know, man. I don't know if I would wear a Duran shirt, but I ain't mad about PC culture going away. I ain't mad about everybody getting offended at every little thing. He said a word, sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never hurt me. Some fat guy in the front row overstepped his bounds, at least with this guy, and he responded, being stupid. You shouldn't use that word. I literally can say, I don't think I've ever used that word ever. Like, not even when I was a little kid. I don't think so. That and the N-word. I mean, somebody might come out and say I did, and I got to tell you, I think they'd be wrong. I go mother blanker. I'm always mother blanker. In fact, I did it yesterday. A couple guys pissed me off, and I had to drop it on them. I did. Yeah. But I think the end of PC culture, but there's never really been a PC culture. There's been a media PC culture. But I remember when they were going at me, I never had more support. I remember when Greg Doyle was right, Dakich is going away and nobody will remember him. Well, at the time, my ratings were 8.8, which is really good in middays. Current ratings at the radio station, 1.4. Same station, same slot, different guy. I'm just telling you. People don't respond to that. I always use right over here the Kroger. The Kroger by my house, melting pot. Everybody. I don't live in Fishers or Carmel, the white community. I live in Indy. Everybody hey, Doc, how you doing? Hey, Jimmy, how you doing? Hey, Kenny. Hey, Dan. Black, white. Everybody gets along. Never was more popular than when they tried to cancel me. Glad to see it. Don't use the word. Don't test it. Be smarter than that. Funny man on Twitter and former Pro Bowler Antonio Brown has claimed on multiple occasions that he suffers from chronic traumatic, whatever that is, CTE. He even named his podcast CTESP, which is really funny. I don't care if you're offended. That's really funny. So he's not necessarily hiding from the fact that he may have CTE, but his most recent episode of his show, he sat down with Le'Veon Bell to talk and joke about the disease. Here's these two clowns.
Afterwards, yeah.
Do you think I got CTE?
Shoot, I don't think you got CT.
Do you think you got CT?
I don't think I got CT. But we'll never know till we die.
What do you think about CT? What is CT?
ACT is like basically like when you forget shit, or no?
No, I feel like CT is really like a bunch of traumas that was like we go through as people.
It's like brain damage, right?
I don't want to say your brain damage because you can't live with your brain damage.
But not like brain damage, but it's like a little like part, like little small like.
I
Ain't
feel
like damage, like something
it's
like.
like I feel like it's like people try to frame CTE as a concussion that you may have, but like yo, we had a bunch of concussions.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like yo, you could live out the concussion.
Right.
So.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know. I mean, that's two knuckleheads talking. CT's bad business. CT is really not to be joked about. But I got to tell you, Antonio Brown putting it on Twitter the way he has, I bet you even guys that think they have CT thinks it's pretty funny. Even guys that worry about CT thinks it's pretty funny. I mean, what is this world if you can't joke about certain things? I get that joking about certain things is off limits, but something about the way, and I'm going to bring Nick in here. Nick, do you agree with this? Something about the way that Antonio Brown goes about his Twitter account doesn't get anybody offended. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's kind of funny, smart. I don't know. I don't think people get offended by his CTESPN.
It is the funniest shit I've ever seen on Twitter, and I've seen some funny ass stuff. I have a really messed up algorithm on my Twitter timeline, and I'm always drawn to CTESPN. It is the best account on Twitter, hands down.
Right. I mean, I
mean, you know, do you agree?
Yeah, I just I do agree. I just think I go to it, I laugh. He keeps it light. He's kind of making fun of his own demise. I like when people F up and make fun of themselves. You know what I mean?
Very much like, kind of like self-deprecating humor almost, but like still you can take ownership for like stuff that you mess up, and it's just like, man, I'm a effing idiot for saying that or doing that or something like that. Like it's honestly great.
Yeah, I agree. Anyway, I think he is. Would you say he is? I think he's maybe the most go-to, for me, the most go-to guy on Twitter. Like, I look to see what he said. I don't. Huh?
Mm-hmm. No. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, I think it's good. Like,
Trump's back on Twitter now, so that's going to be my go-to going forward. I don't have a truth account. I really don't give a shit about having a truth account. But now that he's on Twitter, I can actually follow what he's saying now instead of having to, go through Safari or Internet Explorer and being like, taking that path to try and find something. But no, him and Antonio Brown, now my go-tos.
I think that Trump, and I think Truth Social, I think he thought it was really going to take off, and maybe it did. But him being back on Twitter is a smart move. Hey, heads up. Nick and Dylan and everybody on this show has done such a fantastic job. But now, in addition to all the places you can watch Don't At Me, OutKick page, YouTube page, social media platforms, hell, Us Weekly had a story about our show. You can now catch us on Fox Nation. Fox Nation. How about that? If you or your loved ones own Fox Nation, be sure to stream us every weekday, Monday through Friday. And remember, America is streaming.